Here.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are doing number 2 webinar of our Secrets of Successful Retirement. Today's topic is the power of income. My name is Tara Kendrick, and your speaker today is Bill Witt, and we are part of Senior Resource Center. So the 3 takeaways we have for this presentation today are why income is so important and so much more important than assets in your retirement planning. The second one is we're going to go over the 7 principles behind the power of income. And the third is we're going to cover some case studies showing you how much money you can create for your own retirement. So at Senior Resource Center, how we help, we do comprehensive retirement planning. We do these 30-year lookouts to see how your money will last. We do tax planning to help you pay less tax, long-term care planning, and estate planning to help you not go through probate. All right, so without further ado, I'll introduce you to Bill Witt, your speaker for today, and my business partner.
Thank you, Tara. And let me add my welcome to Tara's. We're always interested in educating folks on topics of interest that affect our retirement, and that's what this series is dedicated to. We want to educate people on a whole variety of topics that'll enhance your peace of mind in retirement. I always start with a disclaimer. We're going to go over some case studies today, and obviously everyone's financial situation is unique. So the actual results from case studies can vary, and historical performance, how markets have performed, things like that. There's no guarantee that will repeat in the future. One of the positive outcomes that came out of the pandemic was I had some time at my home in Burnet, Texas, to think about what Tara and I have been doing the last 19 years in helping people plan for a safe, secure retirement. And the outcome of that was I set about to write a book. Never planned to do that, but did write a book called More Money for Retirement that's available up on Amazon now. The second edition of the book will be in print shortly, and everybody attending today will receive a copy of the PDF of the second edition. But our practice is really founded on 2 very strong principles. The first one is control the things that you can control. There are things we can't control. You and I can't control what happens in the stock market or what the Federal Reserve does on interest rates or what the IRS does and the Congress does on tax rates in the future. All we can do is control the things we can control. And so within our practice, that's how we build our plans. We focus on the basics, the things that we have control over. The second thing that, and really the heart of this presentation and the heart of our practice, over the years, Tara and I, as we were building retirement plans, continued to notice that people with more guaranteed income in retirement had better results. And so that's kind of become the foundation block for our practice. If you attended last week, we talked about building a bulletproof retirement plan. And why is retirement planning more important today than ever before? And there's really 2 factors. One is longevity. We are living much, much longer. If you're only in retirement for 4 or 5 years, your money probably has a very good chance of lasting. But if you're in retirement for 25 or 30 years, your money has to last, and it has to avoid a gauntlet of risks. Risks like stock market corrections, medical expenses, long-term care expenses, taxes, inflation, probate. I mean, there's just a whole array of things that we have to navigate, and any one of those could literally undermine the financial solvency of somebody in retirement. Last week we talked about there's 2 types of people that deal with financial assets: financial planners and then what I call retirement planners. If you have a financial advisor today, you have somebody that most likely is trying to help you grow your assets or your savings. And I think for a long time in this country, the last 40 years, the style of retirement planning has been based around asset growth. if you have a big enough bucket of money, you can deal with all the surprises that occur in retirement. Well, Tara and I dance to a different tune. We do comprehensive retirement planning, and I think the difference between us and a traditional financial advisor is that number one, we use guaranteed income as the foundation block, and we're going to show you that today. Secondly, we deal with a whole lot of issues that a traditional financial advisor may not be talking to you about: how to pay less taxes, how to avoid massive long term care expenses, uh, how to avoid medical expenses with the right Medicare choices, how to make proper Social Security claiming decisions to maximize what you get. Uh, we work in a range of areas, and so our focus is not helping you build that big bucket of money. We do, but our focus is creating a safe, secure foundation. So, what is the power of income? I define it this way: people with more guaranteed income have better financial outcomes and better emotional outcomes. These aren't our words. These words actually came from a study. Uh, but before I go into that study, I'd like to kind of step back, and this may surprise you, but uh, in a lot of ways, what we do today is kind of a deja vu. We've been here before. And so I always ask people, I said, what did our grandparents have that we don't have today? What did people that retired in 1950s, 60s, or 70s have that we don't have today? And the answer is they had two sources of income. First, their Social Security income was tax free. That's why the President Roosevelt created it. He wanted retirees to have tax free income they could feel free to spend. Second, most people retiring in the 50s, 60s, or 70s had a lifetime pension from their employer. And these pensions were created to induce people to stay with the job over their lifetime as a way of rewarding them. And so most people retiring in the 50s, 60s, and 70s had a lifetime pension. These two sources of income made for a very comfortable, safe retirement in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. But what happened? Well, Social Security was turned out to be underfunded. And the basis of that was that people are living much longer. So in 1983, President Reagan added the first tax on Social Security benefits. Up to 50% of our benefit was taxable. President Clinton upped it to 85% in 1993. So the promise of tax free income from Social Security was long gone. The second thing that happened, employers also realized that they had mounting risks from retirement pensions. Why? Well, employees weren't dying as quickly as they were projected. They were living a lot longer. And by living longer, that means the pension fund has to make more payouts, and they proved to be risky for businesses. So, what did businesses do in the late 70s and early 80s? They started replacing pension plans with 401ks, where they help an employee build up a tax free bucket of money. Hopefully, then that tax free bucket of money had to get the employee or the retiree through their retirement. Well, Tara and I kind of liked, we live to a different drummer. Our goal is to recreate the peace of mind that our grandparents had, the peace of mind of Camelot. And so I ask a simple question. Think about this. If you have income to cover your monthly expenses in retirement, do you really care what happens in the stock market or what interest rates are? I mean, like when you're working, if you have income coming in and you feel comfortable, you don't have to worry about the stock market or interest rates or other forces. If you've planned out a good, safe, secure retirement, uh, you can feel comfortable and have peace of mind. So, how do we do this? It's actually a little bit more complex than what I've got up here, but if you boil it down, it's a three-step simple process. We sit with families and we help you calculate your lifestyle budget in retirement. How much money are you going to need each month to live comfortably? And we index that for inflation because we know over time everything is going to get more expensive. The next step is maximize Social Security. That's a source of income that everyone has. And with proper claiming decisions, and we're going to talk about this in a lot more detail next week in our next webinar, how to maximize lifetime payouts from Social Security. But we help our clients maximize it. If you subtract that from your lifestyle budget, there's usually a shortfall. And what are the two major assets most people have as they retire? Usually a home, and in Austin, probably a pretty expensive home. And second, they have a 401k or an IRA. And we use a portion of that 401k to create the assets necessary to help cover the shortfall. So if you're cash neutral in retirement, life is real good. So how do we do this? What is our secret sauce? If you've read my book, you know that what Tara and I do, we use very specific insurance products in truly unique ways to build bulletproof retirement plans for our clients. We use very specific insurance products in unique ways to build safe, secure retirement plans. And when I think of retirement, to me, it's like having a house. What is the foundation of your home? It's what makes for a good home. It's got to have a great foundation. And the same is true about retirement. So, what is the foundation or the building block? This is what we help clients, families create. We help them create the guaranteed income that serves as the foundation for a safe, secure retirement. Once again, if you've got enough money coming in monthly, don't have to worry about what's going on outside. You're safe and secure. Said another way, if you have a retirement plan that doesn't have a solid foundation, you haven't thought out issues like how to pay less taxes, how to make smart Medicare choices, how to create additional guaranteed income, it's like a house without a good foundation. Usually the outcome is more in jeopardy. I said that there was a study that I wanted to go over with you, and I'm going to touch on this briefly. But when I was writing my book, I started to write the chapter on the power of income. And I wondered, has anybody in academia, have they done research that kind of complements what Tara and I have found in building retirement plans? Has anybody found that having more income actually is a positive thing? And I came upon a study that was funded by the Principal Financial Group in 2019. They hired two very bright guys, Michael Finke and Wade Pfau, two PhDs that are at the American College. They're independent of principal, so they had no axe to grind. And they did research on how income impacts retirement planning. And their results kind of weren't surprising to Tara and me. One of the results wasn't surprising, and that's it improves financial outcomes. That's something that Tara and I have seen for 10 years. But the part of the report that was very interesting was the emotional impact that having additional income has on retirement. It increased the confidence in people that they could spend in retirement and know that they're not going to run out of money. And it also reduced their stress. So they knew they would be able to help kids and leave money for heirs if they wanted to. This report, very insightful. If you'd like a copy, you can call us or send me an email, and I'd be happy to send you a copy of their report. But it confirmed what Tara and I have seen for years. So let's talk about the 7 principles. Over the years, as we've seen the power of income, we've tried to dissect it and kind of say, well, what are the different factors that come together to make income really that powerful? I want to walk through these quickly, and then I'm going to go through case studies on a number of these so you can see how they actually impact the families we're working for. The first one is no withdrawals in a down market. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say you have a stock account and you're living off that. You're either taking required distributions or out of an IRA, or you need to take out money to live on. If the market corrects and you have to draw against it, you can decimate your account. Once again, if you've got enough other income, you can let your account alone and let it recover. We're going to give you some examples today on delaying Social Security benefits. And the simple mantra is the longer you delay, the more you will receive over your lifetime. We're also going to talk about smarter required minimum distributions. Everybody today has a 401k or an IRA, and when we turn a certain age, we have to start taking distributions. Those are mandated by the government. I'm going to show you a smarter way that not only will last a lifetime where you can never outlive your IRA, but I'm going to show you how to multiply the value where part of your IRA can generate all of the required distributions necessary for all of your IRA dollars. You can allow your other IRA dollars to continue to grow. I'm also going to show you how to convert IRA distributions into tax-free Roth income. And this is without doing a traditional Roth conversion. I'm going to show you a very simple approach that many of our clients are taking advantage of, because if in the future you can convert taxable IRA distributions into tax-free Roth income, it's like giving yourself a raise 10, 15, 20 years down the road. Many of the income streams that Tara and I build for our clients double if the client or either of the spouses, if it's a couple, needs long-term care. Now, this is not traditional long-term care insurance. We're going to talk about a whole variety of ways to pay for long-term care in a future webinar. But just know this, when we create these income streams that support people's retirement, one of the features is most of the income streams have a doubling effect that doubles if you need long-term care. Not long-term care insurance, but sure is nice to have additional income to pay for care at home or in a facility. Finally, we're going to talk about tax-free, a product that generates tax-free growth and tax-free withdrawals to support retirement planning. So let's walk through these quickly. Number one was, I said, no withdrawals in a down market. Here is a chart that shows the S&P 500 over a 20-year period. The bottom line with the rabbit, the hare, is what the S&P did over this 20-year period. You remember there were some good years and some bad years throughout this 20-year cycle. Tara and I prefer to be what we call tortoise investors. We're on the upper line. We show our clients how to avoid market corrections, how to eliminate management fees, and how to participate when the market grows, but not contract when the market drops. Now, this is an interesting chart. It shows that over that time period, our investment strategy is always operating high water. But what's not shown on this chart? What if this was an IRA fund, $100,000 in a traditional IRA? And let's say I was at the age where I had to start taking required distributions in 2000. Or let's say this is just retirement funds and I have to withdraw funds to live on. Well, what happens if I have to withdraw funds in a down market? And that's what this second chart shows. What I did, I took the same numbers and just said, we're going to do a $5,000 annual withdrawal. Maybe that's money to live on. So what's the end result? Unfortunately, the rabbit runs out of money like 2016, 2017. So withdrawals in a down market can cripple your investments. I like being on the upper line. There we still have money 20 years in, even after making the withdrawals we've been taking. So we want to avoid withdrawals in a down market. Our second strategy, remember I talked about delaying Social Security. When you look at my book, I have this chart in there. It's a very interesting chart. It shows the 3 time periods where most people claim Social Security. You can claim as early as age 62, at your full retirement age, which is 66 or 67, or you can claim as late as age 70. Now, by claiming later, you start with a bigger number. From full retirement up to age 70, Social Security's increased 8% a year, each year guaranteed, plus whatever the cost of living changes are. What this chart shows, it shows the cumulative lifetime payout based on when you claim Social Security. And interestingly, the crossover is around age 78 or 79. So my question to you is this: do you think you or your spouse might live beyond age 78? The answer for most of us is a definite yes. And so by delaying Social Security, we end up with a higher cumulative payout. And I'm going to give you some real life examples of clients that have done this. Let's look at a single lady. This is Susan. When she came to see us, she was 62. Her full retirement age was 67, and her full retirement age benefit was $2,500. So if she claims at 67, she gets 2,500. She claims at 62, she starts at about 70% of that. And if she waits till 70, she gets an extra 24% at least. So we have a very powerful calculator. One of our trusted partners is an outfit called Horse's Mouth. They're the top Social Security advisory in the country, and we are tapped in as a partner with them. And this is the chart that was generated. What you can see on the right side of the screen is Susan could claim at 62, and it shows the cumulative payout at various ages up to age 90. If Susan claims at age 90, her payout is $814,000. That's how much she's received. But what if she waits till age 67 or 70? The lifetime payout is always more. How much? The difference between 62 and 70 is a whopping $309,000. So, ladies, this part of the presentation is for you. Ladies tend to outlive us guys. Would you like to have an extra $309,000 in retirement? Most of us, that's a pretty good solution. Let's look at another case study. Roy and Jill came to see us. They were both 64. Roy's benefited full retirement age was 2790. Jill's was a little less, 762. We looked at longevity and we're projecting that Roy will probably live to 85, and then Jill will step up and assume that higher benefit because the surviving spouse steps up to the higher of the two benefits. So she's going to live an additional 5 years. So how do the numbers run for them? Well, we looked at them claiming at 64, claiming at 66, or Jill claiming at 66, and then Roy waiting till his full retirement age of age 70. Once again, by waiting, we create more lifetime income. How much? Well, the difference between claiming at 64 and 70 is a whopping $272,000. Now, we realize not everybody can delay Social Security. Some of us need it just to make ends meet when we retire. But if you can delay, and we work with our clients to find strategies so they can delay Social Security and maximize the lifetime payout. Okay, let's go on to smarter required minimum distributions. And we're going to spend a whole webinar on how to maximize your retirement accounts. But let me just quickly cover this. What is a required minimum distribution? Well, the government let us put money into IRAs and 401ks, but now at age 72, you have to start withdrawing funds. And starting next year, the withdrawal rate at age 72, the IRS is updating its tables, will be 3.6%. There's a divisor. There's a chart that shows ages and divisors. You take the balance in your account on January 1st, you divide it by an age-based divisor, and that tells you how much you have to take out each year. The withdrawal percentage increases as we get older. So let's see if there's a smarter way to do required minimum distributions. I've got two IRAs here. One on the left side is just a block of money, same amount of money on the right side. But I'm going to divide the block of money on the right side into two chunks. There's no magic to this. Could be 50-50, 60-40. What I did was I divided it up and I put half of the money, in this case, doesn't have to be half, but I put half into an IRA annuity. So what happens at age 72? On the left side, we start doing what I call annual dipping. We go to the chart, figure out the percentage, and we take some money out of our IRA. On the right side, instead of dipping, we add a feature to the annuity called a lifetime income rider. Now, this income rider, this lifetime income, is going to increase over the life of the person. If the stock market's up, the income is going to go up year by year until they pass away. The income can satisfy the full IRA, the full required minimum distribution on the right-hand side. So what does this allow? That second chunk of IRA dollars on the far right can increase because we're not tapping it. Our income stream is satisfying the RMD requirement. Over time, the IRA annuity is going to go down in value. What happens? Eventually, 15, 16, 17 years in, it goes empty. But remember, I said it's a lifetime payout. So the income continues. You're now getting free money. You're receiving the money all the money you paid in, plus all the earnings. And now you're literally getting lifetime free money. But we do something else when when the IRA is almost empty. We go back to the insurance company and say, I'd like to convert my IRA to a Roth. And if we do it correctly, the future go forward income is not only a lifetime payout that continues to increase, but it's also tax-free money to you. If this strategy seems to make sense, give us a call. We show people how to do this every day. And it's like giving yourself more free income in retirement. The same thing is true about Social Security. After 11 or 12 years of drawing Social Security, you've literally received back everything you paid in and your employer, and yet the checks keep coming. That's the same thing with this Roth IRA annuity. The checks keep coming. Here's a kind of a case study where you can see the impact of this. Lucy and Bill were both 68. We did a monthly budget. It was roughly $6,000, and we assumed that inflation is going to grow their living expenses 2.5% a year. Lucy's Social Security at 68, $1,856. Bill's delaying till age 70. This is a nice 3564. Their savings were about $725,000, most of which was in Bill's 401k. And we project it's growing at 5% a year. Bill and Lucy have different life expectancies. Bill has some health issues, and we projected that he's going to live to 83 and that Lucy will then live on beyond that. She's from a long-lived family. So we looked at two scenarios. The first one was just letting everything ride as it does. And Tara and I, in our practice, we use a product called Retirement Analyzer. This allows us to build very thorough, very detailed long-term retirement plans, 30-year plans. Our software computes all of the tax obligations, the required minimum distributions. It allows us to project inflation rates for various expenses in retirement. It can pinpoint where you're going to be 10, 15, 20, or 30 years down the road. So scenario one was just leave the money as it stands and tap into it at the rate that they need to spend. The second option was we said, what if we take part of the 401k, in this case, $275,000, and convert it into an annuity that at age 70 will generate $1,107 of monthly income. That income stream is going to grow each year if the stock market's up. And it's a joint life payout. So once again, it pays out whether Bill or Lucy is alive. Well, here's the outcome. Scenario one, Lucy has at age 100, if she makes it to age 100, still has about $345,000 in assets. But what about scenario two, where we created the additional income? Here's where you see the power of income. By converting part of the 401k to cover their expenses, we've increased their lifetime assets at age 100 by $241,000. We start combining some of these strategies, maximizing Social Security and using part of the 401k to create additional income. You start to see how we help couples literally create hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional wealth in retirement. There's no magic to this. It's all based on the current rules in the IRS tables. Okay, the last strategy I'd like to talk to you about is for younger folks. If you're younger than 60, this part of the presentation is on target for you. Or if you have a son or daughter that's maybe still in their peak earning years, that's in their 40s or 50s, share this strategy with them. We had a gentleman, Tom. He's married, age 45, income $100,000 a year. His tax bracket while he's working, both he and his wife are working, was 22%. And we project his tax bracket when retired will be 12%. And Tom said, my goal is I want more tax-free income in retirement. So we ran two strategies. Tom is in a 401k plan at work. Let's look on the right side. Tom wanted to make a $12,821 annual contribution to his 401k. Over 20 years, that totals up to $256,000. In addition, his company matches up to 6% of his contribution. So his company's putting in another $120,000, or the total contribution over 20 years, $376,000. It's a lot of money. Well, the other option we talked to Tom about was a form of life insurance that grows tax deferred and allows Tom to withdraw funds tax-free in retirement. Over the years, I've had a lot of people say, Bill, I don't like life insurance. And my answer is always, do you like tax-free growth? Yes. Do you like tax-free income in retirement? Well, yes. Well, let's see how life insurance can produce both of those results. So to get the same contribution, Tom's paying taxes, so he can't put $12,000 into life. We pay his taxes, and he's putting $10,000 of after-tax money into his policy. Over 20 years, it's $200,000. So how do these two run side by side? At age 65, Tom retires and starts withdrawing $46,550 from his life insurance policy. Remember, you can take money out of a life policy if you take it out gradually and don't collapse the policy. You leave it in force, but all the withdrawals are tax-free. So he's withdrawing $46,000 a year over a 20-year period. That's $931,000 of tax-free withdrawals. Pretty nice. What about on the 401k? Well, to get the same $46,000 after tax, we have to pay taxes, 12% taxes on his withdrawals from the 401k, and that assumes tax rates don't go up. With the new administration and rising government debt, tax rates could well go up. But if they don't, he would have to withdraw $52,000 from his 401k each year to match the $46,000 coming out of the life policy. Well, we ran projections, and unfortunately, about 16 years in, the 401k is drained. He's gotten $688,000 of pre-tax dollars out. Well, on the life side, we have $931,000 paid out, and the policy still has a death benefit of $231,000. So let's compare the two. Life insurance generates $1.1 million of lifetime after-tax payout, and the 401k generates $688,000. That's a $473,000 difference. We're not telling our clients not to contribute to their 401ks. What we are telling them is, in retirement, tax rates may go up, not down. You assume you'll be making less, but with more government deficits and a new administration, it's very possible they'll raise interest rates or tax rates. And if they do, a bigger chunk goes to our friend Uncle Sam. Another thing we're going to talk about in a future webinar is that the rules on these required minimum distributions changed back a couple of years ago with the Secure Act. Before that time, if Tom died with an IRA or a 401k and he left the money to a son or daughter, they could withdraw funds over their lifetime. Not so anymore. Now all the funds have to be taken out within a 10-year period. So if you leave money to a son or daughter and your kids are in their peak earning years, you could well push them into one of the higher tax brackets where Uncle Sam becomes one of your primary heirs. So if you have a son or daughter or you're under 60, come and see us. We'd be happy to explain how you can use life insurance as a tremendous building block for retirement planning. Well, that's what we wanted to talk about today. I'm going to bring Tara back in. She's going to check to see if we have any questions. If you look at the top of your screen, there's a little, what do you call it, a loop,
Talk bubble.
talk bubble. And if you click on that, you can type in questions. We'd be happy to answer any questions you've got. One thing I'll tell you is that Tara and I are happy to meet with folks. Our consultations are always free. And that means you can come in and ask questions and feel comfortable getting knowledge to make important decisions. So, Tara, what questions do we have?
Okay, let me take a look. Let's see. Okay, our first question is, could you re-explain a little bit more about the tax-free income from an IRA?
Well, I can. We're going to, as I said, we're going to, in a future webinar, we have a webinar called Maximizing Retirement Accounts. We're going to go over this strategy in more detail. But what it essentially involves, think of an annuity as longevity insurance. You put money in, then you start drawing funds out. And over a period of time, you draw the bucket down to zero. When if you funded that annuity with qualified money, IRA money, if you tried to convert it to a Roth IRA where it's tax-free in the beginning, you'd pay a lot of taxes because you've put money into the annuity. Whatever you put in would be fully taxable. But what if you gradually draw down the value, and then when the account is down to say $3,000-4,000, you flip it to a Roth? To make this strategy work, you have to have another Roth in place. And we'll talk about that, how you do that in a future webinar.
Okay, great, thanks. Let's see. Social Security question. Can I get money from my divorced husband or get his Social Security?
The answer is yes, but once again, tune in next week because we're gonna cover this in a lot of detail. But if your marriage lasted more than 10 years, or if you have multiple marriages that lasted more than 10 years, you have the right to claim both spousal and survivorship benefits off of an ex-spouse. So the key is 10 years of marriage. So if you're married and 9.5 years in and thinking about getting a divorce, wait 6 more months so that you have a future potential benefit.
Okay, good one. All right, and then the last question we have today is, what do you charge to develop a retirement plan?
That's a good one too. We have a one-time fee. We charge $500, and usually there's 5 or 6 hours worth of time to build the model, to ask a lot of questions. And we build a baseline scenario based on where you're at today. And once we've done that, we can then do what ifs. What if you work a couple of years longer? What if you retire sooner? What if you downsize your McMansion? What if you create more guaranteed income? What if you delay Social Security? These are all things that can affect your future financial situation. So once we have a baseline, we have a way of then saying, if you do this, here's the financial impact. If you do that, here's the financial impact. So great question. We charge $500, and our clients typically come back once a year, sit down, and we checkpoint. Are we on point? Are we on plan? Are we going where we want to go? If you make small modifications to a plan early in retirement, it can have profound effects down the road.
Yeah.
Our goal is don't run out of money.
Right. Another question. So that you had an example with Tom, and he had life insurance.
Yes.
Type of life insurance are you referring to?
We usually use universal life insurance. There's 3 basic types: whole life insurance, which has been around forever, and more recently, universal life was created. It provides a lot more growth potential. You can peg the growth of the life policy against a stock market index like the S&P 500. And typical policy, don't hold me to this number, but you can have like a 10% upside with no downside. So if the market's up 8, you get 8. Market's up 10, you get 10. Market's up 15, you only get 10. But if the market's down 20%, you don't participate, you don't correct. So that's how we create larger buckets of money. The third type of insurance is term insurance, where you have death benefit but no cash value. So we generally use universal life insurance as that vehicle.
Okay, and I guess that's all the questions for today. If you have any questions for us, feel free to give us a call, shoot us an email. This webinar has been recorded, and so we will send you a recording. I'll send you both the recording that you can click on, as well as a free copy of the second edition of Bill's book. And I'll also include a link to register for next week's webinar on Social Security. So you get all three of those things. And then tomorrow, we should have the recording of this webinar posted on our website if you want to go back and listen to it or send it to a friend, anything like that. So without further ado, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.